We got back from the sailmakers market and I haven't had a chance to tidy up yet. And it's time to make a video. It's that day in Greater Manchester history. It's the 22nd of August, 1905, and Alfred Waterhouse has died. So who's he and where's he from? He was a famous architect, born in Liverpool and studied and worked in Manchester. Some of his most famous works include the Natural History Museum in London and the Manchester Town Hall. When you think Gothic Victorian architecture, you might be thinking of Alfred Waterhouse. My videos are full of rabbit holes. Now, we've talked about rights of way here before. Now, I've heard that once a year, this gate is locked. And it's apparently some kind of loophole in the law that prevents this little passageway from becoming a right of way. Leave a comment if you know more. I haven't looked into it yet. This was his first Anglican church. There were strict rules on how these churches must be built. You know, the nave had to be such a length and the pulpit such a height and such a position. He towed the line here at St. John's as a young architect. Later in life, as a famous architect, he could ignore them, like he did in his last church. Samuel Brooks, the founder of this neighborhood and kind of the inventor of this new suburb idea, hired him because he was making waves with designing the Manchester Assize Court and the Strange Ways Prison in Manchester. Waterhouse didn't like the colorful stained glass in his new church, but I do. This place sums up the whole rabbit hole of thoughts and tangents that this video has taken me on. Now, I had to stop for this. It's not often you see one of these. What a beauty. In such incredible condition. Waterhouse was born in Liverpool, and yet Manchester claims him as one of its sons. So where are you from? A lot of people in this town don't like to identify as being from Greater Manchester and say, I'm from Cheshire, always have been, always will be. And I often chide them with my tongue firmly planted in my cheek and say, don't you mean the Kingdom of Mercia or the Roman Empire? For this town was those things too. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it, I totally get it. I'll always be a Newfoundlander. It's like those Facebook posts about which decade had the best music. And of course, you're just going to pick the music of your youth, whatever decade that may be. This church is all those things. It's a place where you can have the happiest day of your life when you christen your child, or the saddest when you bury a loved one. The place with the most beautiful windows that Waterhouse hated. And what does it all mean? I saw this movie once. I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't very good. But one line in the movie stuck with me. The bad guys were coming, and one of the characters was trying to get this woman to leave the village. And she refused. It was her home and her land, and she loved her land. And the character tells her she must leave the village or she's going to die. And the line that stuck with me was, she said to her, you love the land, but the land does not love you back. Whether you believe in climate change or not, this is the only home we have, this planet. You have to treat it as best you can in whatever way you think is best. You wouldn't, well, I'm assuming you wouldn't dump garbage in your backyard. Just take that attitude of, not in my backyard. And think of the whole thing as your backyard. It doesn't matter if you're from Manchester or Liverpool or Cheshire or Greater Manchester or even Newfoundland. It doesn't matter what name you put on it.
Every person, alive or dead, everyone you've ever heard of or was yet to be, is in this photo, with the exception of Michael Collins, the astronaut who took this photo. We don't inherit the land from our parents. We borrow it from our children. I'll end with the words of Carl Sagan on this matter. And remember, it doesn't even matter if you don't believe the Earth is a sphere or NASA is a hoax. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the endless cruelties visited by its inhabitants on one corner of this pixel, on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that, in glory and triumph, they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit, yes. Settle, not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.